Take my hand and let's fly away to another galaxy. Hold me close, I want to feel your love. Together we are free.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Spoiler Warning Podcast. This is review number 735 with a review of The Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I'm Christopher Schnese.
And I'm Stephen Miller.
And if you're joining us for the first time, the Spoiler Warning Podcast is a weekly film review program. Each week in the show, we're going to dive in, debate, discuss, and argue over the latest films coming to a theater near you. This week, we've returned. There's another Marvel film out. We're talking Guardians of the Galaxy. Stephen, what have your thoughts been on the Guardians as it stands within this MCU so far before going to the theaters to see this one?
Are we including the Owls of Ga'Hoole or not them? I'll stick it just to the Galaxy ones.
Yeah. That's a DC. That's DC. Zack Snyder stuff.
Hey, Gunn is DC now, so all these things are combining.
That is true. That is true.
Anyway, yeah, so I'm not going back and reading my review, so I hope I am internally consistent over the course of the 9 years since the first one came out. But I remember really, really liking the original Guardians of the Galaxy when it came out. I think up until that time, Marvel movies had been fun, but they had kind of been fun in a very samey way. You know, they all were like, we're going to have the superhero, they're going to rise and fight the bad guy, and it is going to be playful in the kind of, you know, wink at the camera type of playfulness that Joss Whedon brought to everything, but that it was kind of one note. And I remember when Guardians of the Galaxy hit, it just was like the rules had been blown up, the soundtrack was more fun, the characters were silly, but the violence was more heightened, so it had this kind of interesting combination that just made it really, really enjoyable. And yeah, I think at the time it was one of my favorite Marvel movies that had come out so far, so I was a big fan of that. Volume 2, I watched it on a plane. I watched it on a plane in the tiny little plane screen, you know, like actually it was just playing on an airplane, and I barely remember it at all. I know Dad is a Planet, spoilers for Volume 2. I think I'm allowed to spoil it.
Yeah, we could spoil everything up till now.
I remember that and very little else about what happened in that movie. To me, it was very unmemorable. And I often rate plane movies in my top 10 of the year because I'm a weepy little, you know, sad man on the plane. So I do think Volume 2 was just more forgettable than other Marvel installments. But overall, I still enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy. But fast forward to now, when I knew a third one was coming out, I wasn't excited at all. Like, James Gunn is moving to DC already, so I didn't feel like I was watching a guy who's sticking around. I feel like the shine on Chris Pratt has worn out a lot since then. I do not think the Jurassic World movies have done him any favors. And just in general, I don't know, the idea of, like, Marvel has been in this kind of tailspin of meh movies for a while. And to me, the whole shtick of Guardians of the Galaxy was going to feel like Thor: Love and Thunder again. Like, I was not really looking forward to the extra zany, extra playful version of Marvel. So loved the first movie, was fine with the second, but for whatever reason was really not looking forward to this one.
Okay. Yeah, I think in general, just the Guardians themselves, you know, I wasn't familiar with them before they entered the MCU and became a part of it. And they've always sort of just been, you know, they're also like a big team up thing, you know, like their own like a little mini Avengers. But they're also a bunch of, they kind of are just normal people. I mean, I know they're not normal because, you know, one of them is a raccoon, one of them's a plant, you know, there's a bunch of like weird stuff going on. But it's sort of just like a more playful, more zany kind of fun experience. I think that, you know, I like the idea of them. I would love, you know, they work their way into the MCU more broadly, but I think I would love just the space thievery happening sort of situation. Like, I don't need there to be an actual big bag. I just like to watch space heists. But I think overall, I like the camaraderie between the group, and I like kind of what's going on with them. So I definitely wasn't unexcited for this film. I just kind of like, oh yeah, this seems kind of fun. I'm ready to watch another of these. While you were talking, I kind of looked up the reviews. Took a few times because the search is super broken on our website. But it looked like I was must see for the first one and then recommended with a caveat for the second one. Yeah, I mean, in my head, I feel like I remember the Guardians fondly. I didn't do anything to try to catch back up. I did not watch the holiday special before this film. I kind of just went into this thing pretty fresh. And yeah, we're going to get into it in a little bit, what we thought. But yeah, I'm pro the idea of the Guardians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I guess what I've been challenging myself with is what is, and we can just get into it in the review too, what is the idea of the Guardians? Because in my head, it was a needle drops, huge thing in the franchise, you know, having the song at the right moment.
Or the wrong moment. We don't know.
Yeah, sure. A playfulness that is different from the kind of Shane Black or Joss Whedon playfulness, but I can't put my finger on what it is. It's like you know it when you see it, but I don't know. It's harder to describe because more people die in Guardians movies than in other Marvel movies, like by a substantial quantity. And so when I think of it as being silly, it isn't like quippy or joking at itself. It's more like heightened in a way that the other ones aren't heightened, I guess.
Yeah, that's definitely true. The death count of these films is pretty gnarly. But you know, it's just weird aliens that are dying, right? It's fine.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So you want to get into it, Stephen?
Yep. Let's do it.
All right. Let's take a listen to the trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and then come back and give everybody a review.
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm Star-Lord. I formed the Guardians. Met a girl, fell in love. That girl died, but then she came back. Came back a total dick.
Oh, please. He left out some important information, but that is the gist of it.
I get the same old dreams, same time every night. Fall to the ground and I wake up.
My sacred mission
Is to create the perfect society.
He didn't want to make things perfect. He just hated things the way they are.
I want you all to know that I'm grateful to fight beside my friends.
Incinerate them.
We were always searching for a family until we found each other.
Are you ready for one last ride?
We'll all fly away together.
Into the forever and beautiful sky.
Whoever it was that you were in love with, it sounds more like her.
Her? That's ridiculous.
Do not bring me into this.
Knock it off!
What?
Just never noticed how black your eyes were.
They were replaced by my father as a method of torture.
He picked a pretty set.
All right, that was the trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. You know, basically our group of people are back together, but there is a baddie who is hunting one of them, and the team has to sort of rally together and try to, save their buds. Stephen Miller, what did you think of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3?
So as I teed up in the earlier part, I was like actively not looking forward to this movie. I don't know, felt Marvel fatigue, did not think it could be good, seemed like the component pieces were just not what I would want out of a Marvel movie, and I was totally wrong. I had a great time with this movie. I don't know if the bar has just been kind of set too low from all this bloated world building that Marvel's been doing for the last few years or what, and maybe I was just like happy to see a real self-contained story that didn't need to be anything more than a story. But I had a fantastic time. watching this movie. I had good laughs. I had a lot of heartstring tugging moments. There are action sequences that needle drop started and I rolled my eyes, and then 10 seconds into the needle drop, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm totally enjoying this. That one involves Brooklyn and one sleeping. All of it, yeah. You don't want to spoil the songs for anyone, so it could be anything.
Yep.
But yeah, like the thing is, I was trying to figure out what is it that makes me enjoy this in a way that I did not vibe with, say, Thor: Love and Thunder. And I think it's that James Gunn, he knows that you can do every trope. Like, this movie is a billion tropes, basically. Like, the entire backstory of Rocket, like, you could call it from the first time you see him, like, what kind of shit is going to happen, how it's going to make you feel. It is clearly toying, like, manipulating you in the sense that it is, like, going for the obvious things. The bad guy is very obvious. The mission that they need to accomplish is obvious. You never worry that much about it. But it doesn't matter that it's going through all those tropes because it takes it seriously. It's like James Gunn knows that I don't need to wink and tell you that this is stupid for you to know that you're watching a comic book movie. Like, I can just have fun and crank it to 11, and I will trust you to have fun and know that it is, like, heightened. I can kill things in this movie, like aliens or whatever, and you will laugh when I tell you to laugh, and you will think it has weight when I tell you it has weight, and we're all going to just suspend disbelief and go into this together, enjoying the heavily cartoonish nature of the stories that we're telling. And for me, that worked perfectly. Like, I felt a little teary-eyed at parts in the backstory that I knew was going to manipulate me into feeling teary-eyed. I, like, wanted to say hoorah during a fight sequence, even though I knew there were no stakes there. I just had fun. It feels like it was filmed in an actual world. I'm sure the volume is heavily used here, but it feels way more tactile than the last many Marvel movies that I've seen. I like the different worlds, the different look and feel. I like the kind of semi-backstory we get over some of the creatures that we've seen before that look like weird riffs off of animals or other things that we've seen back on Earth. I enjoyed so much of what this movie was doing, and I thought it didn't wear out its welcome. It knew we just wanted a fucking Marvel movie, and it gave us a Marvel movie that it just had me grinning the whole time. So I'm a fan. I think Shang-Chi and maybe even Wakanda Forever had some moments that I think hit higher heights than this movie. But as a complete movie, I think this is the best Marvel has been since Endgame. Like, this is the first time it hasn't let me down in the third act or done something that made me be like, you had to fucking Marvel it up and make it be like blue or connected universes. I like the purity of this just being like, grab a big bowl of popcorn and enjoy a complete story arc. And I just had fun. And I wish they would do this more in the MCU.
For the most part, I totally agree with you. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to do the opposite of what I do. I'm going to talk about the positive things later, and I'm going to say a few just like quick negative things to get them out of the way. One thing that kind of weirds me out about this film is, like you've already talked about how, it escapes sort of needing to be part of this broader Marvel universe, and it kind of has this, it's a simplified, isolated big bad who's really only a big bad to, I mean, you could argue more people, but for the most part, it's kind of like no one really knows this is going on if you really think about it, and it's really just these people that care about it. And
yeah, if a civilization is wiped out in a forest and no one hears,
no one's around to hear them scream. But like, it's not a universe-ending sort of thing where it's like, oh, this big bad is trying to destroy the entire universe. He may inadvertently destroy a lot of stuff, but it's sort of a simplified story. But the one thing that still kind of bugs me is why they got to treat the villain like he's a big bad, even though he's a baby bad. Like, if you think about it, if you think about him and Kang, right? Mm-hmm. They're both guys who wear a blue suit and they sort of control gravity.
Very similar.
And if you want to defeat them, all you really got to do is take the suit out, and then maybe you could just fight them normally. You know what I mean? Like, it felt very strange to have this character be so much like Kang that he just doesn't have a bunch of alternate copies of himself, I guess. So it was kind of weird to see that be sort of this trope. It's like, you know, instead of the blue laser beam in the sky, it's guy that controls gravity with a suit.
Yeah.
And that kind of, something about that kind of annoyed me. I'm fine with like the idea behind that character and what he's trying to do and how that connects to like Rocket's backstory and all that kind of stuff. But something weirded me out about that, because I really hate when you introduce a character and he just seems way too OP, but then it just turns out that like, oh, and you know, maybe this is an Easter egg and like Kang actually got the suit from this guy and that's supposed to be some
like when you mention it to me, it seems so similar. I feel like they might be planning some connective tissue.
Yeah. Maybe, but maybe I'm just like, I don't know enough backstory to like know that like, duh, not only is it the same, but it's literally the same. Can't believe you didn't notice this was the.
I just did a quick Wikipedia search, and I don't think it's canonical that they are connected in any way, but that doesn't mean the MCU won't find a way to make it.
They're not Kang-nected.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't even know if we are getting Kang dynasties. The whole future of Marvel is very unclear right now.
True. But, you know, like if I can get past that, which I did, I was pretty easily able to get past that. I did kind of enjoy this film a lot. You know, it's weird that a film about a group of characters that I don't really have that much of a connection to or fondness to, but I still buy the nostalgia of how long these people have been together. Like by the end of this film, I was like, did I just live a fucking lifetime with these people? Like, it felt like I had gone on this tremendous journey. And I know that this is the third film, and they've appeared in other films, and they've sort of always been there, and they have been through a lot. But I felt like they have been through a lot without the rest of the MCU, and I was there the whole time. Even though, like, when I got into this movie, like, I knew Dad Planet type stuff, and I knew whatever. Yeah. But I wasn't really thinking, like, I didn't bother to go back and recheck in. You know, we saw it at the Alamo, so I saw the little clips of like, here's the entire story according to this character, like clips, but I was also doing other things
I missed
at the time.
all of that, and I could have used it. It would have helped me in a few places.
Yeah, it might have helped. But I think that in general, this is a film that really brings you in. You get to have these characters who they're all sort of silly caricatures, but they're also serious and grounded, and they have emotional heart behind what they're going through. They have this sense of like having been together forever, and they have like inside jokes with each other, and just this is a fun thing to play in. And just, you know, the audience that I was with, you know, they were laughing at the parts that they should be laughing at and stuff, but it wasn't like a you know, rip roaring riot or whatever. But it was still like a lot of people seem to be vibing with this film, and I think that's kind of what this film is. It's just a nice vibe. It's kind of like, hey, you're friends with all these people. Let's watch them all go through stuff. As you said, all of the beats are. It's not even like telegraphing. It's just written on the wall. Like, you know exactly all the beats, right? That, like, earlier you were hinting at some things that happened, and in my head I was thinking of the lines that I could just mouth as characters were saying them. But at the same time, still those emotional beats hit you. It's like, I know exactly where this is going, and then it happens, and then I go, yep, I really hope they don't bring the check right now. I'm not almost crying. Everything's totally
like,
fine.
The thing is, I think what I want from a Marvel movie has changed the more bloated the franchise has gotten, because, you know, at the beginning of Marvel, I thought it was fun, but when I thought of like Nolan movies, I was like, those are the real superhero movies. They found a way to be dark and serious. And for a while, like Winter Soldier or whatever, it was like, yeah, these are going to be like the Paranoia trilogy type. These are going to be like big and weighty, and they're going to think through stuff. And now I'm just like, you guys, you can't do that. You can't handle serious. Like, it's too goofy. The universe's rules are too ridiculous. You've blown up the stakes so much that I can't possibly handle an actual serious belief in you. So what I need you to do is just be ridiculous and play it with a straight face. And like that works for me. So like hitting all the tropes, having dialogue that is predictable, like, yeah, it's a comic book. That's what I want. I want predictable dialogue. And maybe 10 years ago, if this movie came out, I would have hated it. But now I'm just like so thankful for the predictable superhero movie that knows what it is and isn't afraid to just be that instead. Yeah, I don't know. Even the Sid's Toy Story group of characters that we meet, and all of the very, hackneyed dialogue and stuff that happens there, I was like, I know what you're doing, and I'm going to get Kleenex ready for it. Linda Cardellini, come at me. Break my heart.
Yeah, I think that because everything in this universe is so silly, it allows for you to not get bogged down by the actual on paper, what the fuck am I watching? And you just kind of get to enjoy it moment to moment. And then when those emotional beats hit, they're not contingent on you knowing that a character has to like, I can't even think of something, but it's like, we need to go, like Endgame stuff, right? Like we need to go like through time and try to stop these things from happening. Like it's not, there's nothing that you can try to worry about. It's just like, no, we're going to go to this place. We're going to bypass a few shields. Then we're going to go in there and, we'll just fuck some shit up and it'll be cool. It'll be totally fine. And you're just like, yeah, I want to watch this like sort of heist movie that is going to go wrong because this group is so dysfunctional that they won't be able to execute on just a plan. So then they're going to have to improvise and they're going to have fun. But also some of the like the creatures and stuff in this world are fucking terrifying. Like,
yeah,
I mean, even in a way, like the things you were talking about, like Sid's toy creatures, those are still kind of terrifying, even though they're also supposed to be cute and childlike. But some of like the weird, like there's like a warhog and like a weird eagle creature.
Pig. I want to say that's played by Judy Greer. I think it is.
All right. Well, I mean, like some of the stuff in this is just fucking rad, and I like just bouncing around to random planets, and I think I'm not gonna get old of going to a weird place. Like when we went into the quantum realm, and it was like, let's have a bunch of characters from weird other places, but all hanging out here in this like weird land of nothingness. Like that didn't work in the same way as here. This film starting with them having built this whole like city to like have all these people living in, and then what happens when like a certain person comes just crashing into that place. Like you don't have to set up stakes for me, because I believe at any moment any character could die, because none of them are really that good at anything they do. So it's like everybody is just on the table, on the chopping block, it feels like, right? Like like other films you're like, all right, they can't kill anyone here, and in this film you're like, they could literally kill every one of these motherfuckers.
Right. Yeah, exactly. A lot of these movies have the thing where it's like, you see one character that is incredibly difficult to beat, and then all of a sudden there's a room with 20 or 30 of them, and you're like, oh, how are they going to do this? This movie, you never feel that for a second. You're like, yeah, this is a pretty fair fight. I believe this.
But yeah, it's fun, and I think that's what you want from a film like this. Is just something that's going to be weird and fun, and you watching a bunch of friends hanging out and going on this adventure. It's got dope spaceships that just, it looks cool. Like there's something way cooler about weird, colorful ships in space flying around than than a bunch of weird, colorful people hanging out inside of a quantum realm.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and this, like, it has more, I mean, you were talking about War Pig and all the strange and kind of scary creatures, and it's just like they had fun with the character design in this movie in a way that reminds me, nowhere near as good, obviously, but it reminds me of Star Wars. In, like, you go to a planet, there are all these weird creatures that look like puppets, but you have to take them seriously because they exist there and they're terrifying.
Yeah.
And the whole franchise, Guardians, just like knows how to do that and make it fun and interesting and vary from place to place in a way that doesn't get old. And I really like it. And I don't know what it is about that separates it from quantum goop so much, but it really feels different to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and like lastly, I'll just say that some of the action is genuinely like dope. Like there's some really good. I mean, there's a bunch of shots in the trailer too that are just like really epic fight moments, and you're like, that's pretty fucking cool. I like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the hallway fight that I alluded to before, the longer it went on, the more I was like, James, you got it. You did it. You got me. I did not want to like this sequence at all. And you're just like, it's so cool. He just nails it. Even though, again, the ethics, and I think this is kind of a story of the Guardians overall, they are characters who constantly say, like, that's not who we are. We don't kill people. You know, Chris Pratt says it multiple times to one character in particular here as a counterpoint of how the Guardians do things. And then without fail, within 10 minutes, they will just like murder a group of people.
To be fair,
we somehow believe like they're doing it in a good way this time.
So I think that they, and I don't know why I think this, but
You think they're stun guns? Because that's what I told myself too.
I feel like at least when they first arrive there, that they are shooting everything on, set phasers to stun, and they're just trying to take people down. There are other times where they're straight up murking some fools.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the hallway fight can be no mistaking.
Yeah, but those are weird genetic monsters.
Oh yeah, and we only love a couple weird genetic monsters in this movie.
Yeah.
Those were weird genetic monsters created by the High Evolutionary. That's very different from the person that we're trying to save.
I mean,
the movie sells it. I don't care. Like the movie makes me think they were created without a brain and they're just killing machines or whatever. And that's what's fun. Like I didn't question it for a second. It was only when the movie ended and I thought back to it, I was like, huh. For a character that spent a long time chiding people about how we don't kill people, that's not who we are, they killed a whole lot of people.
Yeah. I will say, too, I'm not the biggest fan of Nebula's weapons upgrades. I feel like she kind of just has, like, it can be whatever I want. But I feel like this feels a little bit new. But the fact that she can just get like destroyed and constantly just be like recompiling herself like as she's fighting, there was something really fun and inventive about that, of just getting totally wrecked, but then continuing to fight and sort of just like, let me pop everything back into place real fast and then go back to the fight.
I mean, it's like awesome like Terminator 2 energy in this movie.
Yeah. But at least with that, like with T-1000 though, like, it's a thing breaking apart and reforming when it still is, when it's not liquid metal, but it looks almost like a human. And you're like, and then it just goes like, there's something weirder and more fun about that than, it's something about like the weird horror show of her going back together at times that I think was what was making me go like, that's rad.
It's true. I enjoyed the upgrade personally. I thought it was pretty awesome. I did not ever watch the holiday special, by the way. So there are a few things I did not know anything about in this movie. Just roll with it. There's a dog. Fine. Cool. Dog. I get it. I get the joke within a couple minutes. I'm on board. Doesn't matter that I don't know how it got there.
It's another one of those lines of dialogue that is going to come back later.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. 100%, but they do it well. I liked it just fine. Even the place that they open with at the beginning, nowhere. Maybe I just don't remember Guardians, but I don't think I knew anything about that place, what it was, why they were there, how it was formed, who lives there. Even Sean Gunn playing like the mini Yondu or whatever. I don't remember him. I assume he was in the other movies and I just forgot him. But I was not expecting to see a person looking like Tom Green in that place.
You call him Mini Yondu. I call him Yon Don't, because for obvious reasons.
Yep. Anyway, that's the thing, is this franchise can survive me having no idea who the hell random people are or where they are, and I'm just like, the movie will figure it out. It's fine. I just have a lot of latitude for it because of the type of movie that it is.
Yeah.
But I will admit, I was afraid that those new characters were going to be like fighting with them the whole time, and I was like, I don't want them the whole time. But the movie uses them exactly as much as I want them to, and then it's like, okay, we're gonna hide them for a while.
There is one payoff that I was very happy happened. I don't want to say it for anybody. Because I don't want to spoil for anybody who's potentially going to see it. We've pretty much stayed away from spoilers. But there's a certain thing that is sort of referenced, and by the time it becomes a callback later on in the film, I was like, fucking amazing! I love it. This makes up for this other thing that's really, really dumb. But
you're gonna have to tell me offline.
Yeah, I'll tell you off the air. Yeah. Any last things you want to talk about before we just let people know final verdicts?
So the needle drops. One thing I remember about the original Guardians of the Galaxy was that Peter Quill had a playlist that his mom made him, and when he was taken as a kid in the like late 70s or early 80s or something like that, he had it with him, and this is what he listens to all the time, and it is the soundtrack of the movie, and it's why the movie was like all classic rock hits. I know at the end of that movie he sees a volume 2, which I guess allows for new music in the second movie, but again, I don't remember the second movie at all. This movie, he has a Zune with music from the 2000s, and
it has a bunch of playlists in various time periods,
but it goes up to the 2000s, even though he was taken from Earth in like the 70s. So I don't understand where all the music comes from. And I know it lives in the world because we open to a Radiohead song. So I know people are listening to it, and I just don't know I don't care about the rules, but I don't know, maybe the holiday special gives them a Zune or something like that. I think they go to Earth in that, if I'm not mistaken. We'll never watch it, so I have no idea. Anyway, that's my only question. I don't know the rules of when music can be that he plays, because it seems like it's getting more modern every time a new movie comes out.
I mean, he's allowed to, right? Like, there's trading posts in space. There's different things you can go. People know he's into music. I will say this about the needle drops, though. I'm a little sick of the level of diegetic needle drops in this. Like, there are just scenes where they're like, I don't remember what the runtime of this film is. I know it didn't feel long to me, but if this were a film that felt long, I'd be like, well, you could probably cut an hour out of the film where they're literally like, guys, I'm going to hit play. Is that cool? And then they hit play and everybody is listening to that song over the speakers. And it's just doing medleys of people walking around either the ship or nowhere or the bad guy's ship or all these things. And it's just, no, guys, we're just going to, I get it. You want to play the music. You licensed it. You want to get the most you can out of it. But at some point I was kind of like, come on, guys, just fucking let them play, but don't like make me sit in it with you. Just push the story forward. I felt that way a little bit.
My brain agrees with you, but I dug it every single time. I don't know. This movie just defies gravity for me. It does all these things that I would normally hate. And like when Ghosted does a music drop, like a needle drop every 2 seconds, when it plays Rebel with the kicks or whatever for like the 1000th time, I want to kill myself. But when this movie does equally obvious music drops, I'm just like, hell yeah, you go. James Gunn saving the Marvel universe.
But now imagine Ghosted, but like while everybody's fighting, Ana de Armas goes, wait. Walks over to the bar, pulls out a cassette tape, puts it in, and hits play and goes, okay, now let's fight, and then starts fighting to that song. That's kind of how it feels like in this film at times.
Yeah,
sometimes it feels more
I think I
organic.
like it a little better.
Yeah, it didn't bother me that much. It was just one of those things where it's like, you're really, really trying to get, like, milk every second of these songs, and
yeah,
it's fine.
It even rehashes the dancing at the end trick that they've done in the past, and it worked on me so well again. Like I knew it was coming. I knew a character was going to suddenly break. I was waiting for it. It happened. I loved it. I don't know. This movie, this series just makes me very simple and predictable, I guess.
But yeah, it is what it is. And we all love it for being that.
Mm-hmm.
Should we get to verdicts?
Sure.
All right, Stephen Miller, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Would you give it must see, recommend with the caveat, wait for rental, pass the caveat, or a must avoid?
So I think I'm grading on a Marvel curve slightly, just because there have been movies I rated lower than this that I probably believe are better movies by many respects. But as a Marvel movie, as a thing where I was like, I'm going to watch a Marvel movie today, going to get a big old bowl of popcorn, duck out of work Friday late afternoon, catch an early screening. This was a must-see for me. I thought this just nailed the MCU thing, and it honestly is the first thing that really gave me hope in the MCU's ability to keep delivering without it feeling completely by the numbers or whatever in a long time. So this made me mildly excited about what the MCU can do again. So giving it a must-see, even though implicit caveat, it's very predictable, very tropey, very emotionally manipulative, all sorts of criticisms I can give of all of it. I just did not care when I was watching it, and judging by my audience, I don't think anyone cared while they were watching it.
Yeah, it's a film that, like, while I was watching it, I was totally vibing on it, and I was like, yeah, I think I really like this. And then as soon as I left the theater, it was gone. It was gone like the last needle drop of the film. And it was kind of like, yeah, I think I like that a lot. But it also isn't like, damn, every once in a while I'm going to want to put that on and watch it. So for me, it's just going to stay at a recommend with a caveat. Caveat being, like, it's not the most exciting Marvel film out there, but it's definitely a fun ride with fun characters going to fun places. And, there's some weirdness in there. But most of the weirdness is great. Some of the weirdness is just weird, but most of it's great. And I think you can't really complain too much about this film. It gives you exactly what you want if you just want to, like, have some fun for a few hours on the weekend. Cool. Well, that's going to do it for a review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Stephen Miller, people want to find you throughout the week. Where can they do that?
People can find me at twitter.com/sdavidmiller or sdavidmiller.com.
People can find me at christopherreallife.com or twitter.com/christopherirl. You can find the podcast over at thespoilerwarning.com, where you can get a bunch of the back episodes of the show. If you want to subscribe to the show, you can do so on Overcast, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, or wherever podcasts are found. If you want to know when the episodes go live, you can follow us at twitter.com/spoilerwarning, facebook.com/thespoilerwarning, or instagram.com/thespoilerwarning. If you want to get a hold of us directly, you can send an email to fans@thespoilerwarning.com, or you can use the contact form on our site. Music for this episode will come from a track selected from artlist.io, so hopefully you're enjoying that. Way cheaper to license those songs than it is to license all the needle drops in this film.
Yep.
So bear with us.
They must spend a fortune on that, because at least with shit like Ghosted, I assume Apple just has the rights to a million things already, and they're kind of like getting it licensed on the cheap or something like that.
That is interesting.
Yeah. This I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll just say it's true, though. Who's gonna, no one's gonna tell us otherwise.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. That's our review. We are going to be gone for a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will be at Cannes. Maybe I'll do one of those weird late night dispatches like I did a couple years ago. But otherwise, unless you find a special guest, we will not be doing normal reviews for a little while.
Yeah, there is one review to hold us over that has been in the can for months. For a surprise, we'll let everybody hang out there for right now. But there's an episode we recorded for a film which is now available on VOD that I will release sometime in the intervening time while Steven is away, and then then we'll be back. A month after that, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to come back the weekend of Oppenheimer. So, there's lots of stuff we're going to have a chance to talk about in the near future. But, stick with us while the schedule might be a little hit and miss for a bit.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you next time. Later.
See ya.
With me, just be with me.